Dear students, I welcome you all for the online learning platform for the course Warehousing Automation. Now, we are learning this course through online platform, and now this particular video lecture will take us to the next new unit, Unit 4, Decision Making Process in Warehouse Automation. So before we get into the chapters, the contents, so first let me apprise what are we going to learn in this particular unit. See, warehouse automation is one particular case where there is a traditional automation is going to be employed for a custom built-in case called as warehouse, so that it becomes unconventional, where the set of activities called as warehouse processes is going to be taken care by the automation systems. So that is what what we learned on the earlier cases. Now, how to select the technologies, on what basis should we select the technologies, as well the main important question is which technology should be opted when you have a tie, or you have got two options, say option A and option B, which option should I select. So under those cases, this decision making process is going to be quite crucial. So to come out with a very simple example, let me call an example like this. We have got or we need to transfer a part from one point to another point, okay, something like a conveyor system. So which conveyor system should we go ahead with? See, we have learnt more than 10 types of conveyor systems. Say, let me put two conveyor systems here, roller conveyor systems or belt conveyor systems. So which system? We have got two systems, right? So which system will be capable for us, or which one will be economical for us, or which one will be technically suitable for us? Now, these all are the two options, which option has to be chosen. So this is the simple understanding why decision making process is essential in warehouse automation. So this is one very simple example, but when we get into complex cases, yes, the system or the situation is going to be still more complicated. So that is the reason why we are going to learn, or the importance of learning decision making process. Okay, so with this preamble, we'll just without further delay, we'll just get into the contents. So the contents for unit 4, there are total 9 chapters are there. So actually when we get into it, the first is going to be the overview. That is what we are going to learn in this particular presentation. Then followed by design and implementation. Actually 3, that is the third chapter versus fourth chapter, they both are going to be the same. That is, to just give in a colloquial way, the fourth one is going to be optimal deployment strategy based on 5 platforms, that is business goals, objectives, cost, scalability and compatibility. So these all are the 5 platforms on which the optimal deployment strategy is going to be taken care. Okay, so that will be the first half of unit 4, and next half of unit 4 will be the techniques which helps us to do decision making. So SWOT analysis, cost benefit analysis, decision trees, Pareto analysis and MCDA or MCDM, multi-criteria decision analysis or decision methods, MCDA or MCDM. So these all are the things what we are going to learn in unit 4. Okay, so before we get into the further things, first let us understand the importance. That is, definitely there will be a tie, there will be a clash will be there. One point of time we will be struck to select with which particular option when you have got two options under. And fundamental engineering concepts, we are going to deploy not only engineering concepts, even economy based concepts to come out with some sort of decision which option should be selected. So that is what this particular unit will completely teach us, the ways and means of how to proceed with it. Okay, so now we'll go for the next slide. So warehouse automation, we know it is a ocean, that is cluster of technologies are going to be used to automate the warehouse for to perform various tasks like operation or inventory management, picking, packing and transportation. Of course, the highlight point is with minimal human intervention, especially for repetitive tasks. Of course, final decision will be taken by the human, but the system is going to assist, and this is what the learning what we have learnt with respect to the earlier contents, that is the previous 3 units. Now the importance of warehouses, we are going to have several KPIs. There are several KPIs are there. So very basic KPIs, when we see, the first is going to be increasing the efficiency of operation, reducing the labor cost, accuracy improvement and scalability. So these all are the main KPIs what we need to attack or what we need to tackle in order to increase the automation process, okay, in a warehouse application. So this is what the thing what we learned. So now, why this decision making is so crucial in such an application? That is the question what we need to answer, and this answer will be taught by this particular unit. Okay, so why decision making is crucial? Under what circumstances do we go for decision making? Or in other words, why should we go for decision making? That will be the first question. And second question is, how it will help me to increase efficiency or increase the KPIs which has been discussed in the earlier slide. So these all are the two crucial questions what we are going to learn, the answers which is going to be covered under the topic of overview. So the first thing is, automation involves a high investment. So that particular fact is undeniable. Okay, it is unarguable. Yes, it is going to have high investments and long-term commitment. Okay, it is not going to be done for a shorter while, not for a week, not for a fortnight, not for a month. It is going to be a long-term commitment. So definitely poor decisions can lead to inefficiencies and losses. Okay, so how to go ahead with this particular understanding is, for example, we are developing a new automated systems for a warehouse application. Let us go ahead like this. Now we have decided with one technology, we have cornered one technology. Don't worry about the reasons, we just identified one technology, and upon installation and operation we understood that that particular technology is not solving the purpose, maybe XY reasons. Let us not worry about it. Now think of, shall we discard the technology what we have implemented and shall we go for a next? Is it possible? Will the companies, will the industries permit? Is it, first of all, is it a good decision, wise decision? So the answer for all this thing is definitely no. Why? Because the decision what we had started initially, that should have been very good, that when we do certain things at the first time, it is supposed to be right at the first time itself. Okay, so in English there is a saying like this, do things right at first time every time. Okay, likewise we should go ahead with the adoption of some technology which involves high investment as well as high energy for the case of installation. So the decision should be very wise enough so that it is not going to reduce the inefficiency, as well it is not going to infuse some sort of losses to the company. So that is the reason why decision making is crucial. Okay, so with this understanding, now we'll go to the process of decision making. So decision making means the process of choosing a course of action from two or more alternatives to solve a problem or achieve a goal. Okay, so first we'll understand in a very clear cut way. Okay, what is decision making? Decision making is a process of choosing a course of action, which one should I go ahead with, okay, from multiple options. Okay, minimum we need to have two options. Okay, there can be multiple options, not two, there might be even multiple, but the minimum requirement is we should have two options. So we have got two options or two alternatives. So even we will have multiple alternatives. Now what is the reason for selecting this alternatives is maybe to solve a problem or to achieve a goal. It can be of anything. Okay, so let me put a very simple example before we get into the further discussions. See, now the case is you wanted to buy a two-wheeler. So this is a very simple case. Your goal, let me put as a goal, not a problem, a goal. That means we wanted to buy a two-wheeler. Now what all are the options you have got? You just get into the market. The first question is whether you wanted to buy, say, EVs or any other, that is regular petrol vehicles. So now let us not complicate the problem. Let us be very simple. No EVs. As of now, we don't want to prefer any EVs. We'll just go for the regular petroleum vehicles. Okay, so now that is the goal. Goal number one is we wanted to buy a petrol vehicle. Now the next question is whether we wanted to buy what sort of vehicle, that is geared or non-geared. There are two categories are there. So again, see, this is how we are going to get into the alternative. Okay, first to reach alternative itself, we need to face some set of constraints or conditions. Okay, why? Because practically any problem do persist only with some constraints or with some conditions. Okay, without that no problem is going to persist here. So now we wanted to buy a petrol vehicle, two-wheeler. Now what is the condition? First condition or constraint, whether it is geared or non-geared. So again we'll go for geared vehicle. Okay, geared vehicle. Okay, so one segment, that is one option we got cleared off, that we wanted to buy a two-wheeler petrol engine with gears. Now what is the CC? what is the combustion chamber size, what sort of cc you wanted to buy, what's the vehicle cc. So now let us go like this, 150 cc and less than that, somewhere between 125 to 150 cc. This is what is our requirement is all about. So second condition, again it has been solved. Now when you get into the market, there will be several brands will be there under the same segment of our expectation. There will be several brands will be there. Say for example, TVS will be giving one product, okay, then Honda motorcycle will be giving you another product, Bajaj will be giving you another, Hero Motorcorp will be giving you another. Now you have got four options, okay. To simplify the problem, you have got four options. So four brands are going to offer you four products. So from this four, which one will we buy? So this is the condition, okay. This is the condition. Now we need to narrow down to one solution, obviously, so that it is not going to affect us in near future, because two-wheeler we are not going to buy annually, year we are not going to buy it, okay. So once we buy, the Indian mentality is like this, that will be used for some 10 years or even more than that, okay, because it is an asset for us and we wanted to use it fully. So this is how decision making processes are going to be complicated in a real environment, okay. So that is where we are learning about this in a warehouse application. Why? Because warehouse application, multiple technologies are there, and automation itself, we knew the fact that it is going to have cluster of technologies. So from this cluster of technologies, which technology should I select, which one should I opt? So that question has to be carefully, and it has to be very logically, it has to be understood. So that is what the process of decision making is all about, okay. So with this understanding, we'll go for the next. So it involves identifying the problem, gathering information, evaluating different options based on some criteria, okay, and finally making a selection, okay. So now to clarify here, see, there are two terms are there, okay. One is criteria and another thing is criterion, okay. So criterion is a singular. Criterion is a singular term. Criteria is a plural, that is plural form of criterion. Okay. So please have a clarity in this regard. Just I wanted to recollect emphasize this particular point at this juncture. Okay. So now same example will come like this. Identifying the problem. It need not to be problem always. Even it can be a goal. Okay. So now the problem here is, or a goal here is, we wanted to buy a geared two-wheeler of 125 to 150 cc. So we are going to gather information, which all are the products are there, what's their mileage, what is the local taxonomies, all such things will be collecting the information. So upon doing all this paid work, we understood that there are four options are there. So Bajaj is giving one product, TVS is giving, Honda motorcycles are giving one thing, and Hero Motorcorp is giving. So you are left out with four options. So which option will we choose? Okay. So this is how the decision making process will look like in a real world environment. But actually we will be going ahead with a network diagram. So from the network diagram only, we'll be having levels, multiple levels. We'll see all those things in the final chapter, that is MCDA. There we'll see how to go ahead with how to construct all such things. Okay. So in English there is a saying like this: when you want to reach the highest, start from the lowest. Likewise, we'll be starting from the lowest case, that is SWOT analysis. Likewise, we'll go for the higher level entity in the hierarchy. It is going to be MCDM or MCDA. Now, this fundamental human and managerial activity helps individuals and organizations move forward with clarity and confidence by addressing situations and reaching desired outcomes. See, always we use the term outcome, not the term output. Why? See, even the education what we go ahead right now at SVC is OBE. We go ahead with outcome based education. Why don't we call this as output based education? So the reason is, we, without any sort of compromise, any sort of lack with respect to quality, judiciously we put all the efforts into the learning process, and we don't know what's going to be the outcome. Okay. If you expect something and then you do, then that is going to be output. You expect some efficiencies. Okay. Outcome is you readily accept whatever comes out of it, and usually once the input is good, obviously the outcome is going to be the best. See, Dhoni often he says like this, no, don't worry about all the things in the field. We are supposed to do three things. This is how Dhoni says. Okay. First is perform well in the field, that is we need to field as a team, we need to perform good, don't drop the catches, don't give any sort of lose leak out runs likewise. Second, when you get an opportunity to bowl, do it very well. Okay, bowl too consciously so that you are not going to lose any sort of runs or anything. And the third is bat well. So these all are the three tasks. So if the team or if an individual is performing good in all these three tasks, obviously the outcome is going to be victory. So likewise here we are doing all these activities irrespective to the outcome, because once the input is good, obviously the outcome will be good. So that is what decision making process is all about. Don't have some sort of stereotypic or some sort of reservations in this regard. Just go ahead with the problem or define the goal, go for the data gathering, formulate a problem, solve the problem, and finally the outcome will be good once the process is thoroughly, scrupulously, if it is followed. Now, what all are the stages are there? Because it is not a single process, single step process. It has got its own indigenously several steps are there, and each step is having significant role with respect to the performance, with respect to the functioning. So that is the reason why we are going for different stages. So stage number one, the first foremost stage is goal setting. Set your goal. See, always it need not to be goal setting, even it can be problem solving. But initially we start with this goal setting. Okay. Once the goal is being set, then perform data collection and analysis. This is very, very crucial. Why it is called crucial means, if you are not taking care of all sorts of data, obviously we are going to miss out informations. All this information should be comprehensively, nicely has to be obtained. For example, there are some 10 products are there for the expectations of our problem or goal, but only the data has been collected only for 5 problems only, or the product details for the only 5 products has been gathered, means it's very obvious that we are not comprehensive. We are losing some options. Why? Because that options might be outperforming the options of what already we have shortlisted. So data collection should be done in a very, very unambiguous way. There should not be any sort of ambiguity at any point of time. No compromise should be there during data collection and analysis. Then next, so goal has been set at the first stage. Second stage, data collection and analysis has been carried out. Now the third step is very important, option generation. So from this data, we can gather multiple options. Based on several criteria, we can just go ahead with the options, because among these options only we are going to choose one. There are some 5 options are there. From this 5 only we are going to choose one. So we should be very careful enough in identifying the options. Why? Because a good option should never be rejected. Okay, as well a wrong option should never come into the process. So that has to be taken care of in a very, very careful way. Then evaluate the options under the criteria. Under certain criteria we are going to evaluate all these options. So that is going to be the fourth step. Fifth step is decision and implementation. You are going to rank everything, because based on the rank only we will be identifying which decision is found the best. So we are going to rank everything. We are going to put down in a format and we are going to know the ranking, and based on the ranking we can identify, we can narrow down to some solutions. Why some solutions? Means even 2 options can do well, but only one will be going ahead, but we can, that has to be given. That is how the decision making process works. Don't always select one option and tell only this has to be. No, you give a set of solutions, maybe based on some consensus, even from that solution, from the priority it can be taken. Okay, so to clarify this, see, we have got 5 options, we have narrowed down to 2 options. You are telling the pros and cons of individual options. If you go for this option, these all are the cons what we need to go ahead. If you are going for the second option, these all are the cons. So both are equally does well. However, by a small margin, option 1 is outperforming. So this is how comprehensively we are supposed to present the solutions, and it is left to the discretion of the user to select any one option. Okay. Then the final case is monitoring and feedback. This is very, very important. Why? Because see, always we work with the strategy of continuous KPIs that we learned even in the 3rd unit itself. So key performance indicators are very mandatory in the process, and that process is defined by us Why? For the improvement of our own system. So once we are done with the KPI, and we should monitor, get the feedback, real-time feedback, and we should work on the KPI, and we should ensure that KPIs are increasing with respect to time. Okay, so these all are the 6 crucial decision making process. So with this understanding, we will go for the next. First step is problem identification. So how to identify a problem? See, it is a very known fact that whenever you start with any sort of decision making or any projects or anything like that, see, first thing is we should identify the problems only from the basic understanding, that is from the works part. Okay, in Japanese term it is called as Gemba work. So Gemba means Gemba. Gemba, it's a Japanese term, refers to the English equivalency is like this, works. So go ahead with the Gemba walk, that is work spot visit, because problems always persist in the ground level only. From that only we'll be able to get out the problem. So first thing is identify the inefficient in the ground level, that is work spot visits. Go perform work spot visits and understand where the actual inefficiency is all about. Some cases bottlenecks and congestion, what we learned in the unit 2. Okay, so bottleneck and congestion also will give without much groundwork or without doing any much groundwork, on a very basic understanding itself we can know where the bottleneck is. And the third crucial thing is error rates, where the errors are frequently committed, what's the reason for such committing. Okay, so that is how we can go ahead with this. So first step is going to be problem identification. So these all are the 3 basic groundwork which helps us to narrow down the problems. So only not these 3, there are still, even of course experience plays a very crucial part, but these all are the 3 things which helps us in a very simpler case. And next, step 2, goal setting. So goal setting, basically there are 2 aspects are there, say 2 phases are there. The first phase is define clear objectives. So objective is very important. Why? Because for this objective only, for this question only we are seeking answer. So that question should be very comprehensive without any sort of lapse. Any data lapse should not be there. It should not have any sort of data lapse. So objective first, what is the objective? Give a very clear cut, precise, tangible way. So that is the beauty of KPI. So in the lines of KPI, go ahead with the clear cut, tangible ways. Reduce operational cost by X percentage. Say this is the amount for which we wanted to reduce. So that we need to focus upon. Improve picking accuracy, whatever the thing. See, in the earlier case, what the problem we have identified, for that set a proper goal, that is set a proper objectives which is tangible in nature. Shorten order to dispatch time. So in terms of percentage or in terms of time, okay, whatever the, or activities per hour, so it can be of anything. So based on these guidelines we are supposed to select. But what industrial expectation is, always try to be smart. Okay, what does this SMART means? So actually it's an acronym. SMART is an acronym where we can abbreviate for each SMART. So the abbreviation is like this: S means specific, M means measurable, A means achievable, R means relevant, and T is time bound. So obey this SMART guideline. So based on this SMART guideline, try to set the goal. It should be relevant. It should be time bound. See, you have come out with some solution, but that solution, preparation of solution itself will take 1 hour, means no, obviously the solution what you have chosen is not time bound. So likewise we can select the goals. The next, data collection and analysis. So now we are going to collect the data. Okay, so we have identified the problem, the goal has been set. Now get into the data. How you are going to collect the data is like this. Say the types of data, it might be, some cases it might be qualitative data. If qualitative, go ahead with an equivalent conversion to into quantitative. Order volume or SKU, stock keeping units, varieties in a warehousing cases, or peak versus off peak trends, that is when do you have the major load and when do you have the minor load. So likewise we can go ahead with. So as usual, try to adopt the SMART guidelines. The next, generating options. Now we have narrowed, we are getting into deeper into the problem. Now this is very crucial stage where we need to know the multiple solutions. So in an automation, how we should go ahead is try to do GTP based system. This is very important. Goods to person. You select some system, you operate that system will get the product to the human. So this human can directly pick it and pack it and he can dispatch the product. So try if possible, if possible. So that is the foremost essence of automation, where you are completely fulfilling all the requirements. Then the next is automated picking robots. Why? Because see, exertion, the concept of exertion we discussed in the earlier units. Why? Because it is accumulated 25%. It is the root cause for 25% of accidents in a warehouse cases. So try to go ahead with a picking process, especially when you have an exertion by a human. Try to go ahead with robots. And obviously the inventory management, everything has to be dynamically, it has to be uploaded with respect to some time. So therefore workout, that is warehouse management software, has to be upgraded in a very frequent manner. Okay, not in an the interval should be as close as possible. The next, evaluation of alternatives. So use criterias. Okay, use multiple criteria to narrow down the solution. So the first part is ROI. Try to go for return on investment. Try to select a solution which is going to give you much ROI with the least possible time. Then the implementation time, that is installation, development and installation. Flexibility, so this is with respect to future requirement. Think of which is highly flexible, which can be compatible, which can be scalable in the near future. And vendor reliability. See, this vendor reliability is very crucial when you wanted to have a long-term commitment. Why? Because there might be companies which pops up like mushrooms over a small time. They might vanish, they might be volatile, they may not be existing in the market. So likewise it should not be. So we should be very cautious enough to select vendor those who are in the market for a longer duration. Step 6, decision and implementation. So having completely done the framework, now we can go for the solution selection. Select the optimal solution, phased rollout or full implementation. See, some cases 100% we may not be able to select one particular solution, maybe in a phased way. First step, second step, likewise we can go in a phased way. Case to case that might differ also. So change management. So if necessary, we can introduce some sort of middle level management to take care of that. Procurement and vendor selection can be done. So this is the next step. And finally, KPIs. See, warehouse, when you keenly observe, at all point of time, we are highly interested to develop KPIs. Why? Because KPI is the real tool which is going to help us to improve the system at any point of time. Okay, so KPI has to be done. So as usual, the concept here is it is supposed to be a tangible parameter. It is supposed to be quantitative parameter. So based on that, we just go ahead with. So now we are in the last slide of the presentation. So to summarize today's learning, so this video lecture introduced us to unit 4, where decision making process, the role of decision making process in a warehouse application was the main objective. So here the first part what we learned is why decision making is necessary. So decision making is necessary under 2 grounds. Ground number 1, where you wanted to come out with a judiciously proper judgment, so that is not going to hamper our efficiency of the process, as well as it is not going to lead us to costly rejections or reworks. So that is the first answer what we got. And the second answer here, it was you got multiple options, which option should we select, under what guidelines should we select. So these all are the 2 answers which takes us to the concept of decision making. So that we learned. Then what all are the steps involved in this decision making process? So there are 6 steps are there, and final step was to monitor and to get feedback from the earlier 6 steps. So individually we discussed how to select a problem, then how to narrow down a goal, how to collect the data, what sort of data is essential. So all such things we discussed, and finally we discussed about the KPI. So with this understanding, so now we wind up this particular chapter 1, that is overview of decision making process in a warehouse automation, was the topic what we have covered in this particular presentation. So students, as usual, any doubts you have got, so please note it down during our offline class as well as during online discussions. We shall discuss the same, or connect to me personally so that we can get the doubts clarified then and there. Okay, so thank you for your kind patience. Thank you one and all.